Mike, I'm so thrilled to have you on the show to discuss one of my favorite things, which is sort of certified B. Let me say that again, which is certified B corporations. How are you?
I'm doing terrific. How are you, Stephanie?
I'm so great. Let's start by you telling us about yourself and your company, Impact Grove. Who are you?
Yeah, so I'm Mike Brown. I'm the founder and CEO at Impact Grove. We're an advising and consulting agency that helps impact driven companies to succeed. We do that by helping them elevate their impact by increasing their social and environmental consciousness and connecting them with frameworks like the Certified B Corporation movement, United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, and overall sustainability marketing.
Well, you're here today to again talk about B Corps. Be and I wanted to have you on the show because I do feel like there's a lot of confusion out there. There's a lot of third party certifications. Which ones are the average consumers, like my listeners and me, supposed to support with our dollars, and which ones are just another marketing gimmick? We're talking only about the B Corp today. Let's start out with its origins. Who founded it? Why was it created? Tell us all of that.
Yeah, so the B Corp movement was founded by three friends back in 2006. They shared a vision to make business as a force for good. Two of them, J. Cohen Gilbert and Bart Houlihan, were founders and executives at a basketball lifestyle brand called And One, a brand that I grew up playing, basketball at my school wearing And One clothing. And they built this successful company that was about social impact while also making money. They were in very diverse communities, underrepresented, underserved communities, and they built it into a very, very successful company making lots of money. Then Nike, they became the number two competitor to Nike, and Nike kind of targeted them and made life in business much more challenging for them. And long story short, they were in a situation where it forced them to essentially exit that business. And the pain they went through when they saw the company that they had built on social impact then be acquired by a private equity group, and all their social impact started to be gutted and stripped out of their entity, led them to start B Lab, which is the nonprofit that certifies B Corps and builds in governance of requirements for benefit corporations to lock in their social purpose that helps them to sell towards social purpose acquirers and maintain that social impact even if the business is sold to other owners.
Well, I'm going to assume that most, if not all, of my listeners have seen the B Corp logo on some corporation's packaging, bags, tags, you name it. But what does it mean? When we see that logo, the B in the circle, what does it mean?
To me, and you see so many logos and certifications on products, right? You see fair trade, carbon neutral, the list goes on and on and on. The way I describe it is a certified B corporation is the only certification that certifies the entire company's social and environmental ethics. So, whereas another thing can be for one product or product line, this is the whole company. It's the most holistic certification of the triple bottom line of people, planet, and profit. And to me, it's not perfect, but it's the best indicator of a company that is doing its best to do the right thing while also earning profit to continue to do more of the right thing. So I describe it as the certification that is validated by the other certifications. In fact, in the B Corp assessment, the B Impact assessment, it's when you have fair trade and you have carbon neutral and other certifications that gets you the points to become a certified B Corp.
Can you give us some examples of corporations that are certified Bs? To maybe just name off a couple that are big names that we would know.
Patagonia is one of the kind of founding certified B Corps. Ecosia is a search engine that competes with Google and uses their profits to do purposeful tree planting for climate action, and also has better privacy controls for its users. And then Beneficial State Bank is a business and consumer bank that uses the deposits from people and companies to invest in good things in communities, and doesn't fund any fossil fuels or anything that is accelerating climate change, like some of the bigger banks use deposits to fund some not so good things in the world.
Hmm. Yeah, I believe there are over 7,000 certified B Corps currently. And correct me if I'm wrong, but they're out there and they are advertising that they're out there, through, again, this logo and other, they'll write it on any marketing material that they can find, precisely because it does make a big statement about the mission of the corporation. So, talk to me about the certification process. I've always been so curious about this. I'm guessing you're going to tell me that these companies and corporations have to jump through extra hoops. Talk to me about that.
It's the best way to describe the certification process is it's a standardized set of evaluations around 5 areas of the company's impact and ethics in the environment, the community, its workers, customers, and its overall governance. Now, companies are very different. And I mentioned 3 examples there that are very different types of organizations. Some have manufacturing, some don't. Some are all office, some have, massive environmental impacts in their supply chain, like Patagonia. So the certification is flexible. It's like those mystery books when you were growing up, and it's like, if you want this, turn the page to this page. So it's not really a one size fits all. And that's what I love about it, is that it really does look at each industry, each type of company, its size, is it international, is it local, and that's why the B Corp community is so diverse. So there's an assessment. It's called the B Impact Assessment. It is 100% free. And actually, one of its greatest impacts is for companies that take the assessment voluntarily and don't even go on to become certified. It's giving them the pathway, the roadmap of business as a force for good in society. It's been taken over 200,000 times. So 200,000 assessments turning into 7,000 certified B corporations. So this impact is more than just those that get certified. It's also those that are using it as an aspirational roadmap of how to do more good things in their company. So, and the process is you do the assessment, then you are contacted by a one-to-one representative from B Lab, which again is the nonprofit that's doing the certifications, and they essentially audit the assessment that the company took. And in this assessment, there's multiple areas and boxes and criteria to be able to kind of check the box of, is the company doing this and this and this and this? And those boxes are weighted by their impact. So one box will get you a quarter point, and another box can get you like 5 points or 10 points. And you need to total up to 80 across these 5 categories in order to become certified. So it's flexible, it's complex, it's detailed, and it's for real, because it's actually checked by a human being that is that gatekeeper of certification.
Well, you just said something there that I'm going to come back to, Mike. You said it's for real. And I think there's a lot of skepticism out there in the consumer world about whether it is actually for real, whether it is actually a force for good, as you also mentioned. And so I'm going to ask you all of that later, but just a couple more questions about certification and recertification. What does that look like? Do they have to recertify every 1 year, 3 years? And if so, how do these corporations have to pay a flat fee to get this fancy logo on all their stuff? Tell me about that.
Yeah, those are great questions. When a company certifies, there's a minimum annual contribution into B Lab's nonprofit activities of a minimum of $2,000 per year. That's for companies of revenue sizes of 0 to less than 5 million, so 4,999,999. Maybe missed a nine there. And it goes up from there. It can be into the tens of thousands of dollars of an annual contribution. A company like Patagonia, I believe their annual fee is at least $50,000 a year to be a certified B corporation. These certifications are renewed every 3 years at a minimum. If there's any negative publicity events or anything negative about that brand that comes to light, B Lab will directly engage immediately in order to reopen that certification qualification and look into what that company is doing. And that has happened, where companies in between those 3 years have been removed from the certified B Corp community.
Well, that brings me to Nespresso. um, Nespresso, for anybody listening, is the maker of, another type of single use coffee pod, I believe it is. I'm not an espresso drinker, but like I'm thinking espresso pods, single use disposable items. Nespresso was part of the B Corp ranks, but there were greenwashing claims associated with that. And I would say, from just an outsider looking in, it did seem to put the entire B Corp umbrella label into question. Nespresso, not only for the single use pods, but for the child labor concerns. Can you walk me through that, dare I say, controversy?
I think that's a fair word for it. And I think this speaks to the complexity of B Lab's vision. The B Corp vision is to change the system of capitalism to be more just, and not just more just, but a just and inclusive system for all people, and that it's inclusive of the health of the planet. This movement is easier for smaller companies that have more direct ownership throughout their entire supply chain. So, for a company like Nespresso that has 120,000 farmers in 12 countries that are responsible for growing its coffee, it's complex and it takes years to achieve certification and to go through this. And they're also fair trade certified and all those things I mentioned that kind of build up to B Corp certification. Um, and when Nespresso became a certified B Corp, the first thing was many of the smaller coffee brands that I love a couple brands, Red Bay Coffee and Black and Bold Coffee. I do the whole beans and then I grind them and then I compost my coffee grounds into my backyard garden after. So that's what I do. But I also have an Nespresso on the countertop because there's times where I want that quick cup of coffee. And what I love about Nespresso, and these are things that they did to earn their certification, is they've gone circular in their supply chain. They actually provide free methods for consumers like me to send back this used aluminum coffee pods. So they're not plastic, that's important. They 100% recycle what's sent back to them back into new aluminum pods. They take out the coffee grounds and they actually turn that into topsoil. And they use it and they send it to their farmers to help them grow better coffee. I love that. And I also love how Nespresso responded when they found out that there was some child labor in some of their communities that were growing the coffee for them. And they didn't back down from it. They took ownership of it. They did everything that they could do to right that. They shut down that area. They stopped buying from that area. They sent people on the ground to go look at it. And I look at that for companies because these large companies in particular, they've got a lot of complexity in their supply chain. So when a company wants to do the right thing, I want to support that. And when they find out that things aren't right, I look at what they do. And I looked at what Nespresso did, and putting myself in their shoes, I'm grateful for what they did. And I think I would have done the same thing. And that's why I can stand behind Nespresso as a certified B Corp, because it's not about perfection. It's about intent, continuous improvement, and doing your absolute best to do the right thing and doing the right thing when things are shown to you that it's not being done the right way.
Hmm. So Nespresso wasn't kicked out then.
They are an existing certified B corporation as of today, and I saw it on the packaging this morning. They also, I didn't mention this, but they intentionally partner with farmers in struggling areas, and do special coffee programs for them. So take the DRC, the Democratic Republic of Congo. They have special lines called, I think it's Kawaya Congo. I'm probably not pronouncing that right. That cost a little bit more, but they go back and they use those profits to invest back into that community. So they're still a certified B Corp. George Clooney is still doing the B Corp marketing, and I can fully support them on that. And from a business case, those household names that become B Corps are very important because the system of capitalism doesn't change holistically without the biggest companies in the world doing their best to do the right thing.
Mike, I want to talk to you about um, the tension that I personally, as a consumer, see and feel. How can a corporation, which is in existence to make money, also do some good? Like, that just doesn't seem to coalesce in a fine way in my mind. Can you talk to me more about that? Because it does seem to me as though, I mean, if I was the leader of a company, wouldn't I just want to get B Corp certified so I can have the fancy logo and hopefully sell more products?
Yeah, I mean, I appreciate the question because that tension is real. I encounter it every single day in the work that I do, and I will say, Stephanie, there are believers in sustainable business, and there are enemies of sustainable business. And there are those in elected offices that are proponents of it and want to support it, and those that are protecting the status quo. And you identified the status quo, which is called shareholder primacy capitalism. This is Friedman economics, Milton Friedman, teaching business students like me. I went to business school in the mid 2000s, and I was taught the only role of business in society is to return maximum shareholder value or profits, period. And in business, we love simplicity. And that's one objective, just go make money. And what is shifting is business owners and capitalists are receiving the truth about inequities, about the climate crisis. And we are human beings. And there's a growing number of capitalists that run businesses and are amazing entrepreneurs that realize there's now a triple bottom line mentality of people, planet, and profit. And that it's actually becoming a competitive advantage to be a sustainable triple bottom line company because there's more conscious consumers that want to buy from conscious companies every single day. That shift is underway, especially as some demographics age out and new demographics like Generation Z that wants to buy on their values emerge. You identified greenwashing and companies that would want to do it just for the marketing. And yeah, that's a real problem. That is a huge problem. And that's why the certified B logo matters so much, is because it's hard to achieve. It's not a send in your wire transfer, give them your credit card and you get the logo. There is a strict gatekeeping process of who is a certified B Corp and who is not. I mentioned 200,000 B impact assessments taken and 7,000 certified B Corps. This is challenging to become a certified B Corp. So it cuts through the greenwashing. And it's not perfect. Has somebody been in the B Corp community that is greenwashing? Yeah, for sure. This isn't perfection. But as consumers, people that want to do the right thing, they can look at that B Corp logo and feel very confident that they are doing the right thing without having to spend hours of their own time doing their own due diligence on every single company out there.
Hmm. Yes, the certification does make shopping a lot easier for those of us who want to vote with our dollars. Absolutely. We want to, you know, put our values into the world by how we spend our money. Absolutely. But Mike, you did mention that a shift may indeed be underway in the business world. I know you mentioned you went to business school in the early 2000s, I believe you said. Do you see a shift happening in your capacity as a CEO, do you see a shift actually happening in which stakeholders in companies, leaders of companies, are willing to sacrifice a bit of profit for the betterment of people and the planet? Is that actually happening?
It is actually happening. Because when I went to school, there weren't any certified B Corps. It didn't even exist yet. When I went to school in the early and mid 2000s, the legal entity of a benefit corporation didn't exist. And that's what B Lab has been able to accomplish, is to go out and now in all but 5 states, everywhere except for Alaska, Michigan, Mississippi, North Carolina, and Oklahoma, there's a legal entity called a benefit corporation that did not exist when I incorporated my first business when I was 19 years old as an undergraduate business student. So it is happening, but it needs to accelerate. And it is accelerating. Every time I run the numbers on certified B Corps every few months, it's incredible to me to see how many new companies have certified and how it's going global. When I first started, it was less than 6,000 companies. Now we're at 7,020 with 161 industries and 623,000 workers. Now, that's still not that much. I mean, we're talking about less than 1% of capitalism. I'm a realist, but I'm also an optimist that knows that this is possible. And I'm going to work the rest of my life advocating for it because we need it. Business has so much influence on the health of people on the planet. Um, the planet's going to be fine whether human beings are on it or not. We want to be here with the planet, and we're the only species that can be intentional stewards of it. And business needs to play that role. We all need it from them. So that's what I'm working for.
Well, the importance of that shift, I'm not sure if it could be understated. I mean, that is huge to have shareholders willingly give up some piece of their hard earned pie to help the planet and help the people who live on it. I think, we can't understate how big that is. So, 20 in the last 20 years, let's say 7,000 companies are B Corp certified. What will happen in the next 20? I guess we'll see. And that brings me to where I really want to spend the rest of our time together, Mike, is talking about what consumers can and should be doing the next time we go out to buy a product. You did mention at the beginning of our conversation that some companies have other certifications like the fair trade or carbon neutral or 1% for the planet. Are you saying that the B Corp logo, the B Corp certification, is bigger and more important than all of those other third party certifications?
I would say they're all important. They're all valuable. I'm also a business member of 1% for the Planet, where we donate at least 1% of our top line revenue to environmental nonprofits. So I don't have a supply chain, so I'm not fair trade certified. But it's not necessarily a question of more importance. I would say the B Corp logo is more holistic. It's more all encompassing of everything a company is doing. Um, Inclusive of a really important thing is the company paying fair living wages to its employees and not trying to just pay minimum wages. That's a huge issue in the United States. So I think it's so crucial. First off, the most important thing a consumer can do is to consume as little as possible, to be a minimalist. And even as I say that, that flies in the face of capitalism as it's been. As the status quo of capitalism is market to consumers to extract value from the consumer to move it towards the company by having them buy things they don't really need. And there is absolutely a movement underway in capitalism of sustainable business leaders like myself that are saying, please don't buy it unless you absolutely need it. And when you do absolutely need something, buy it from a certified B Corp because they're of that same value set that we want to do the right thing for people and the planet. And we look at profits in the B Corp community as a tool to make impact. We look at profit circularity of we make more money, we can do more good things for people on the planet. while also earning income for ourselves. I mean, we are human beings and we do want to do that, but we're not going to be looking at making 15,000 times more than the minimum wage person on the front line. It's a reasonable balance between people, planet, and profit.
So we talked about coffee earlier. Let's just go with that example. Where can the average consumer, where can I go and find the coffee companies that are B Corp certified?
So the two brands I mentioned earlier, Black and Bold and Red Bay Coffee, they're both available. I know on Amazon, which in and of itself is not a sustainable behavior to buy from Amazon. But if you are going for convenience, you can buy it from Amazon. Just make sure you don't do the next day rush shipping. Do the aggregated shipping day on your Prime Day or something like that, or the no rush shipping. They're also available at Target. You can also buy directly from them. And they're both certified B corporations. They both reinvest back into communities, and they're very ethical in their supply chains. So I think that they're on the shelf where we shop. They're at the Whole Foods. They're at Sprouts. All those brands that those grocers that are able to be sustainable as best as they can as well. So they're out there. Um, when you search, use Ecosia as your search engine instead of Google if you can. So you can plant a tree when you search. And you can search for certified B Corp coffee or certified B Corp makeup or certified B Corp cleaning. All these things for personal and home use, they're out there. They're in every category. And once you find one, share about them, be loyal to them, and share and encourage other people to move their dollars to those conscious companies.
Yes, and I would totally direct all listeners to bcorporation.net. They have a Find a B Corp tab, and you can just go there and you can search all 7,000, 7,100, I believe it is, companies. But before we go, Mike, because you are just such an expert on this, I have a couple personal questions just as a consumer, not as a podcast host, just as somebody who buys stuff that I would love to get your thoughts on. And I apologize in advance if I don't get my business terminology correct. I've never taken a business class in my whole life. But okay, my first question is that you said earlier that individual products are not B Corp certified. It's the company, it's the corporation that's certified. So can we then assume that everything that, let's say, this is a silly example, but everything that Ben and Jerry's sells is worthy of us purchasing?
Yes, I that is a safe assumption. It's not a perfect assumption because there's more sustainable products in a sustainable, ethical B Corp. And I think that's where consumers can use their best judgment as individuals and their knowledge and expertise as best as they can. The and that's where certifications can be complicated is because it's like some of the ways that it gets certified, it totals up into a business as a whole being great. So that's where the individual certifications supporting the B Corp also are important. You're going to see, I mean, fair trade is pretty much for the whole thing too. But in regards to vegan, some products are going to be vegan and some are not. If it's a vegan ice cream, you're going to have a lower environmental impact because you're not raising cattle that take up water and land in order to produce milk. So those are added things on top of it. You're going to want to look for your vegan, your non-GMO, your organic, or your regenerative organic uh, cotton and those type of things in your apparel type of products. So that's where those other certifications support the B Corp in a very important way.
Thank you for distinguishing that because I think I just want to make clear to listeners that there are some third party certifications that certify just a product, whereas there are other certifications, fair trade being one generally, but also the B Corp certification that certifies the company. And so that can be tricky. If I'm going out to buy sheets and I want organic sheets, and one set of sheets from this certain company is GOTS, Global Organic Textile certified, that I can't then assume that all the sheets that this company sells is GOTS certified. But that's not the case with the B Corp. So I think we made that clear, and I thank you for that. I mean, it makes it even easier for us as consumers. Just look for the B logo and feel fairly confident that everything that this company sells is something we want to spend money on. But now here's my question, and this is a, this is well, I have two more questions, but this question, the first time I ever found myself introduced to the B and the circle, the logo, was at the mall. I was walking through the mall, and first of all, I have to say I love athleisure. I don't know if you know what athleisure is, but it's yoga pants.
I do.
Okay. And so the store, Athleta, had this gigantic bee in a circle on the window. Had no idea what it meant, but it certainly looked important. Went in the store. Every tag, every window, every place that they could put this logo, this B Corp logo, it was there. And so, I looked on my phone, I figured out what it was. Okay, looks good. But it wasn't until I got home that I realized that Athleta, which is under the Gap Corporation umbrella, let's say, Athleta is just one brand under the Gap, again, umbrella. Old Navy's not B Corp certified. Gap, the store, is not. Banana Republic is not. It's just Athleta. So make that make sense for me.
Yes, this is part of the shift that's going on in capitalism. So, in the business world, we're taught to test, evaluate, and either divest or reinvest into strategic initiatives. So, these giant companies like Gap, they are testing sustainability in the business case. And I mean, I want them to just go all in on it, right? I think we all would say just change everything all at once. Like it's the right thing to do. However, for these publicly traded companies that have boards and CEOs that are compensated based on the performance of a stock that's evaluated every 3 months on Wall Street with quarterly earnings reports, they are not empowered to do that. They're almost a victim of their own environment of short term capitalism. And that's sad, but it is what it is. It's not right, but it is what it is. It's built upon decades of that system. So, what these large companies are doing is they are testing. They're testing if a B Corp like Athleta, that is proclaiming its B Corp status, performs better than its non B Corp brands, which they have dozens of them. And that just circles back to our role as conscious consumers buying Athleta instead of a non certified B Corp. And hopefully buying it only when we need it and buying as little of it as we can as consumers. But when we do, choose the one that is the B Corp instead of the one that's not, because the market and the boards and the CEOs are looking at the numbers and seeing if consumers are actually voting with their dollars or not. Um, so buy Athleta instead of the no name brand on Amazon, which who knows where it's coming from? Who knows if they're treating their people the right way? Who knows if they have child labor in their supply chain? Um, because at least with Athleta, even if it's owned by Gap, which is far from perfect, but is at least on the journey.
Hmm. So, to my fellow athleisure connoisseurs, buy Athleta over Lululemon, but don't assume that just because you have the, let's say, Athleta credit card, that that Athleta is owned by Gap. You can use your Athleta card at Gap or Old Navy or Banana Republic. Don't assume that just because Athleta is B Corp certified, all of the brands and the Gap umbrella are. Is that what you're saying?
That is what I'm saying. And there's in capitalism, there's brands like Unilever and Danone, which are large consumer product goods companies, especially foods and beverages and household items, that are building and buying certified B Corps because they are on a journey to certify their entire corporate umbrella. So that's really cool. That's really inspiring. I don't know if Gap is on that journey or not, but I think they would be encouraged to go on that journey even more if they're not already on it, if they see their B Corps performing better than their non B Corps.
Well, tell us more where we can keep in touch with you.
Yeah, so you can get in touch with me through my direct website, which is mikebrown.com. I also publish a newsletter through my website, impactgrove.com. And I would love to see some new subscribers and get in touch. And if you all are active on LinkedIn, that's my main social media account. You can find me there just by searching Mike Brown Impact Grove, and you'll find me no problem.
Well, I learned a lot, Mike. Thank you so much for giving me your time. I really appreciate all the work you're doing. Thank you.
Thank you, Stephanie. It was a privilege and an honor to be here. I love what you're doing with sustainable minimalism, and big fan. And hopefully, this helps people to practice the values that you teach, which I am a huge supporter of. So, thank you.